Welcome to Biology, the science study of life. Contamination of aquatic ecosystems. The key problem with excess nitrogen seems to be critical load. The amount of added nutrients, usually nitrogen or phosphorus, that can be absorbed by plants without damaging ecosystem integrity. Nitrogenous minerals in the soil that exceed the critical load eventually leach into groundwater of runoff directly into fresh water and marine ecosystems, contaminating water supplies, choking waterways, and killing fish. Many rivers contaminated with nitrates and ammonium from agricultural runoff and sewage drain into the North Atlantic Ocean. With the highest nitrogen inputs coming from Northern Europe, groundwater concentrations of nitrate are also increasing in agricultural areas, sometimes exceeding the maximum level considered safe of drinking water, 10 milligram of nitrate per liter. Lakes are classified by nutrients availability or as oligotrophic or eutrophic. In an oligotrophic lake, primary productivity is relatively low because the mineral nutrients required by phytoplankton are scarce. In other lakes, basins and watershed characteristics result in the addition of more nutrients. These nutrients are captured by the primary producers and then continuously recycled through the lake's food webs. Thus, the overall productivity is higher in lakes that are aerobic. Human intrusion has disrupted freshwater ecosystems by what is termed cultural aerification. Sewage is factory wastes, runoff animal waste from pastures and stockyards, and the leaching of fertilizer from agricultural recreational and urban areas have all overloaded many streams, rivers, and lakes with inorganic nutrients. This enrichment often results in an explosive increase in the density of photosynthetic organisms, whose population growth is generally limited by either nitrogen or phosphorus. As a consequence, shower areas become choked with weeds, making boating and fishing impossible. Large blooms of algae and cyanobacteria become common. Eutrophic lake may be super saturated with oxygen produced during the day while photosynthesis is taking place but anoxic oxygen depleted at night when respiration occurs in the absence of photosynthesis. As the photosynthetic organisms die and organic material accumulates at the lake bottom, detritivores use all the oxygen in the deeper waters. All these conditions threaten the survival of some organisms. For example, cultural eutrophication of Lake Erie wiped out commercially important fishes such as blue pike, whitefish, and lake trout by the 1960s. Since then, tighter regulation on waste dumping into the lake have enabled some fish populations to rebound, but many of the native species of fishes and invertebrates have not recovered. Acid precipitation, the burning of wood and of coal and other fossil fuels releases oxides of sulfur and nitrogen that react with water in the atmosphere, forming sulfuric and nitric acid, respectively. The acids eventually fall on to Earth's surface as acid precipitation, rain, snow, sleet, or fog that has a pH less than 5.6. Acid precipitation lowers the pH of aquatic ecosystems and affects the soil chemistry of terrestrial ecosystems. Although acid precipitation due to fuel composition has been occurring even since the Industrial Revolution, emissions have increased during the past 100 years, mainly as a result of smelters and electrical generating plants. Acid precipitation is a regional and even global problem rather than a local one. To avoid local pollution problems, smelters and generating plants are built with very tall exhaust stacks, more than 300-meter high. This reduces pollution at ground level but exposes the problem far downwind. The sulfurous and nitrogenous pollutants from fuel composition may drift hundreds of kilometers before falling as acid precipitation. Gene Lakens and other ecologists first documented damage to forests and lakes in eastern North America and Europe in the 1960s. Dwelling organisms in eastern Canada were dying because of air pollution from factories in the Midwestern United States. Lakes and streams in southern Norway and Sweden were losing fish because of acid rain from pollutants generated in Great Britain and Central and Eastern Europe. By 1980, precipitation in large areas of North America and Europe averaged pH 4.0 to 4.5, with record storms occasionally dropping rain as acidic as pH 3.0. In terrestrial ecosystems such as deciduous forests of New England, the change in soil pH due to acid precipitation causes calcium and other nutrients to leach from the soil. The nutrient deficiencies affect the health of plants and limit their growth. Acid precipitation can also damage plants directly, mainly by leaching nutrients from leaves. Freshwater ecosystems are particularly sensitive to acid precipitation. The lakes in North America and northern Europe that are most readily damaged by acid precipitation are those underlined by granite bedrock. Such lakes generally have relatively poor buffering capacity because the concentration of bicarbonate, an important buffer, is low. Fish populations have declined in thousands of such lakes in Norway and Sweden, where the pH of the water has dropped below 5.0 in Canada. Lake Terwat are keystone predators in many lakes. Nearly hatched Lake Terwat die when the pH drops below 5.4 and when they are replaced by acid-tolerant fish. The dynamics of food webs change dramatically. The entire contiguous United States has been affected by acid precipitation, as shown in this figure. Notice the field pH. Average pH for precipitation in the contiguous United States in 22. Notice darkness green. Notice also the yellow and orange. The differences of pH precipitation pH. But there is also some positive news. Environmental regulations and new industrial technologies have enabled many developed countries, including the United States, to reduce sulfur dioxide emissions during the past 30 years. In the United States, for example, sulfur dioxide emissions were reduced 31% between 1993 and 22. The water chemistry in the streams and freshwater lakes of New England is slowly improving after decades of severe acid precipitation. However, ecologists estimate that it will take another 10 to 20 years for these ecosystems to recover, even if sulfur dioxide emissions continue to decrease. Meanwhile, massive emissions of sulfur dioxide and acid precipitation continue in parts of Central and Eastern Europe, contributing to forest destruction over the vast areas.